Hi everyone. I wanted to make a new video and I set the camera up so I can show off my Christmas tree that's put up already. So I wanted to make this video and talk about my symptoms of my condition and for ataxia awareness. I have a neurological disease that causes my cerebellum to degenerate and basically lose its function over time. And I was diagnosed clinically with episodic ataxia type 2. But I have not been, I don't yet have a definite diagnosis through genetics, but I am currently working on that. So what that is it's a neurological condition. I also consider it kind of like a neuromuscular disease, only because it feels like it affects my muscles and my movement of my muscles. So is what it is like I have recurrent debilitating episodes of poor coordination imbalance, and I have I've had times where my legs felt like, or my arms felt like they were gonna give out, and I just lose muscular control of my limbs, like my arms and my legs. Like when I was in school, when I'd suddenly have an episode, I would allowed to carry a water bottle from class to class because I had a medical condition. But once I had an episode, I lose all functioning of my limbs. So I would suddenly drop the water bottle, and I wouldn't mean to drop it. I've had a couple instances where I had collapsed in physical education back when I was in school because my limbs would just give out and not work when I would do certain physical activities. And, it became very problematic, and I would get extremely dizzy. I'd have vertigo, and it would make me sick, and it would make me throw up a lot. And it came to the point the vertigo was so persistent that was messing with my eye movements, and I would even have it was like I would lack muscle control with my eyes. So I would have unusual eye abnormalities. My eyes seemed like they would like cross or go misaligned when I have a very bad episode associated with my vertigo. But despite of that, when I'm not in an episode, I appear to have a bit nystagmus, which are involuntary jerky eye movements when you move them back and forth. They don't seem very smooth movements. That's called nystagmus, and I have that despite of not being in an episode. I also suffer from tremors a lot, and I don't necessarily have to be in an episode to have them, but they seem to happen in myoclonic jerks and twitching. And I don't have to be sick or in an episode for it to happen. So those are some symptoms and what it's like to have episodic ataxia, also known as EA2 for short. So I use a wheelchair, and I use a wheelchair part-time. I don't rely on it a full-time wheelchair user. And there's this misconception that just people that absolutely can't walk 100% of the time are the ones that need to use a wheelchair, but this is not true. Many people use a wheelchair for a variety of different reasons. Not everyone is a full-time wheelchair user. Some people use the wheelchair part-time, while other times they use a walker the other part of the time. Or they may use a wheelchair full-time, depending on how your disability works. Okay, there are multiple reasons why a person would use a wheelchair. I use a wheelchair part-time, and the rest of the time I walk around like I don't need any assistance with a walker or wheelchair or nothing. Okay, that's how weird my disability is, and it can be classified as an invisible illness or an invisible form of ataxia, because in between having my debilitating episodes where I can't function or can't walk or whatever, I appear like I do not have ataxia, and I walk around and I look just fine. So yeah, that's a thing about me. And I'm going to take you for a little tour. My wheelchair is in my car, and I wanted to show it to you. So I'm going to do that as well. I keep it majority of the time in my car, because that's when I will need it, is when I go out. I don't particularly need it at home, so I never use it really at home. So I don't use anything at home really. And if I were to have an episode, you know, I'm at home, so I really don't feel like I really need, you know, anything. I could just go lay down and, you know. Whereas if I'm out and about, I cannot do that until the episode passes. So I would more likely need a wheelchair if it were to happen. I also use my wheelchair for long distances as a precaution or preventative of triggering my episodes, especially when I feel like I'm having an off day or I'm extremely tired. So, but I struggled with this invisible aspect of having ataxia, only because I look okay in between. I do have permanent cerebellar signs in between my severe episodes, but they are milder, and they appear to be so mild that it doesn't look like I have ataxia. So, but I have cerebellar atrophy, or a shrinkage of the cerebellum, like a lot of people do that have ataxia, of different kinds. So, but you look at me and I can walk around, it doesn't look like I have cerebellar atrophy. So it's really unusual how this ataxia plays out. But it's hard having an invisible illness. You fight for understanding, you fight for acceptance. You're often faced with misconceptions, being judged because you do not look sick, or it's not as bad, or it's downplayed to be a less severe illness because of that. And this is my wheelchair. Like I said before, I keep it in a car always. And I use it just when I am out. I don't use it at home, so let's see if I can get it out. It's not easy getting it out. But here it is. That's what it looks like. That wasn't easy, but I managed. So this is my wheelchair, and like I said, I only use it when I'm out and about somewhere and I don't have the option to lay down when I'm having a bad day. So I have this, but like I said, I can walk around, and you know, I do not have any physical problem. But despite of that, you know, I still struggle at times, but I feel like I'm always tired a lot, and it's like, yeah, I get tired frequently, and I feel like I've been doing good, but as far as my reoccurrent disabling episodes go, but I feel like I still have them, you know. There's no cure or whatever. I just gotta use precaution, you know, when it comes to my disability, and I just gotta be careful. And I can drive, I can do some things. I have 2 horses, so I mess with my 2 horses. But the physical part of these things are not always easy, even without being in an episode. I feel like I still struggle to do physical things, and more so than the average person. And I feel like I easily strain myself when I do physical things, and this can make my symptoms a lot worse. So, but yeah, but that's what I wanted to discuss today, and hope that brought you some insight. Have a good day.